Today, Miss Elizabeth Ocean is going to interview me for my own podcast here on Power Pantaloons, and I am so excited to have you here with us.
Thank you, Tonya. It's my honor, and I'm so excited to be able to interview you. I know you've been through so much, and that your audience doesn't get a chance to always hear like the full depth of you. So to flip it and have you be the one being interviewed is super cool.
Yeah, and since we're almost hitting the year mark, I guess it's 8 months, 9 months. I think it's about time that we get the whole story and just instead of little snippets along the way.
I agree. So for your audience, like this particular episode is going to be powerful. You're going to hear all the things behind the
All
scenes that
the
you ever wanted to
things.
know about this incredible woman. So I'm excited to jump in. Anything that we need to know?
I It's very casual. So you ask whatever question, like nothing is
Let's do
off the
it.
table when it
Let's
comes to
do
my
it.
cancer journey. That's the
Gotcha.
whole point of this show is advocacy to help
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. So this is Tonya's show, everyone. Power Pantaloons podcast. Tonya is an incredible woman and an incredible leader. This particular show is diving into her and everything that she's been through in her journey and what she brings to you all. Quick little 10-second side note. If you're like, who the heck is this person? My name is Elizabeth Ocean, and I am a transformational holistic business coach for women entrepreneurs on a holistic spiritual wellness path. So Tonya is somebody who I absolutely adore working with and having in my circle and being around. Just so you know who I am, I've been doing this for
Ever.
decades. I've been in business for over 30 years and have done hundreds and hundreds of interviews, and Tonya invited me in. So I'm super grateful to be here. But that's enough about me because this episode is about Tonya. But some of your listeners might have been like, wait, where's
No, they
Tonya?
need
She's
to know
right
who
here,
you are.
everybody. She is right here. So Tonya, start off with how you are right now with your life and your business. Like tell us about your peak moment right now. Like you've got a
My
podcast,
peak,
you've got a
I
business. Like tell us
yes,
about like what's good right now and what excites you about your life and your
I,
business and your podcast right now.
helping people really excites me. Having conversations with other survivors and still learning about cancer, right? Like there's so much to learn and finding out about new resources. So my little list of resources to help people is getting bigger and bigger, and I couldn't be more grateful for that.
Very cool. Lay down some of your credentials on us. Like how many years have you been in your cancer journey and tell us about your show and your business.
So I was diagnosed with a carcinosarcoma of the uterus in 2007.
So you've been
It
on
was
this journey for 17
it
years.
will be 17 years on March 27th.
We're going to hear the whole story, everybody. But Tanya's got 17 years of being in this under her belt. And so now what do you do with your clients?
I helped them develop the blueprint to to navigate their diagnosis. We talk about mindset. We talk about nutrition because nutrition is super important. So it's mind, body, spirit, uh, relationships. You need to be able to politely tell toxic people it's time to go because you need to focus on you and you need to be able to set healthy boundaries in a good way. So there's relationship building. And then, of course, there is how to intuitively decide what alternative wellness modalities are right for you in addition to what your oncologist is telling you or recommending you to do. I think it is super critical to have your medical team, your family, and you all in alignment on what your steps are.
Absolutely agreed. We're going to dive into all that in this episode because I know that everybody listening is like, okay, wait, Tanya, tell me exactly what to do. What do I need to know? So we're going to dive into those things as well. And then in a nutshell, tell us about your amazing show. Like here we are, Pantaloons. What's this show all about?
Power Pantaloons, it airs on Monday and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday shows are where I talk with other experts in relationship building, mindset, and all the alternative wellness modalities, some of which I've never even heard of yet, right? And to bring you that information. And then on Thursdays, I speak with survivors and sometimes survivor caregivers. And that those episodes really, I mean, I love learning about all of the new modalities, right? But speaking with other survivors, other warriors, because that's what we are, you know, the second we get that diagnosis, we turn into a warrior,
Yeah.
whether we want to or not. That's
Yeah.
just the nature of it. And learning about everybody's journey, and from a lot of people when I speak to them, they talk about how brutal their cancer journey is.
Yeah.
And then in the next breath, they say, well, what I went through is way easier than, and they know four different people that they feel had a rougher journey.
Yeah.
And even with the fact that they removed over 10 pounds of cancer from my body, I still feel that way as well because I'm still standing here
Yeah. Yeah.
and I get to help other people.
And you do that so beautifully through this show. Like this is unique. There's real stories and you're interviewing experts, but also survivors. It's so powerful. So this show is incredible. And everybody's probably wondering, okay, wait, take us back 17 years. Like tell us about this entire journey and take as much time as you need.
Uh, so it was the beginning of 2007, so the end of 2006. I was exhausted all the time. I felt uh, a heaviness in my abdomen, and so I started trying to figure out what was going on. Um, had my routine pap smear that came back fine, and so we ended up doing an ultrasound, uh, transvaginal ultrasound, something called a sonohistogram, which is where they inflate your uterus with saline and then image it. Not, no, it's not. 1 out of 10 do not recommend. I mean, it was horrible. It was an absolutely horrible procedure. Obviously, we did blood work, right? And nothing came up in any of this. I was super fortunate to have a wonderful gynecologist who said, okay, so this is the result of this. It's a negative or inconclusive or whatever it is. Our next step would be blah, blah, blah. Do you wish to proceed? I was not gaslit. I like, she supported me the entire way.
That's yeah, it's lucky that you had that. Not everybody has that.
Not everybody has that. And I advocate very strongly in my medical world, right? Like anytime I see a provider, if they're giving me some blah blah answer, I don't tolerate it.
Yeah.
I will not tolerate it. Uh, so we had to do a DNC to find my cancer.
And for people who don't know what a DNC is,
That's the technical term for an abortion, where they scrape the uterine lining to
yeah,
pull out the cells.
yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a mind screw right there, right? What what most people don't know is that a healthy uterus is about 4 ounces. So when they took mine out, it was over 10 pounds, which is the size of my head, really. Uh, and it was two different kinds of cancers. And at no point did any of my doctors give me an expiration date. However, with what was going on, my odds were about 5%.
Wow.
And I was super fortunate to have a friend with me when I went to the doctor to get my diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, "You have cancer." And her lips kept moving, and all I heard was womp 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 womp. You know, Charlie Brown's teacher just talking, and
Mhm.
I got nothing. And my friend was an RN, so she got everything. And when we
That's good.
got back to her house, she sat me down on the massage table and she's like, "Okay, yell at God, cry, scream. ask the why me's, get all that nonsense out, because this is the only day you're allowed to do that. And tomorrow you're waking up and we're kicking cancer's ass.
Wow. What a friend.
To
Like
have that
anybody
kind of
else might have
support,
gone into a deep, dark pit. You had somebody right there that day. And I imagine that that's what you do for people who you work with. Was there any moment in there when she saw when the doctor's talking and it went blank and she's talking, or any time after that, that you were just like, felt like it wasn't going to work or that this was going to kick your butt or
there was one
fear?
moment.
Yeah, tell
There,
us about that.
the day that I got up to go in for round two of chemo. I have to set this up with a couple of things.
Yeah.
So I want to say that if your oncologist asks you if you want something and you don't know what it is, don't just say no. So when I was asked if I wanted a power port, I said no. I didn't ask any follow-up questions. That was on me. He didn't tell me why I needed it. That was on him.
Yeah.
What a power port does is it's a medical device that they insert in your skin, and it is where they do all of your IV taps.
Right. So they put it in one time.
They put
And
it in one time and then they put the IV into that. It's a little box with a like a like a silicone gummy top that they stick the needle in, and then it hits the bottom of it and it curves into so and then so it goes right into your vein. Um, so if you don't know, once you have chemotherapy in your veins start to blow, and it is impossible to find any good vein to tap. So you need to know that in order to understand this next part. So I got up, I took my 18-year-old cat to the vet to put her down because she chose that day to go. And then we got to the hospital for my round two of chemo, which is inpatient for me. Because of the kind of chemo that I had, they had to give me rescue drugs before, during, and after. And a lot of people have never heard, like I had never heard of what a rescue drug. The chemotherapy was so toxic that they had to support me immediately with rescue drugs. And
like,
because of how long I was on the IV, I had to be inpatient for that.
oh, just everything you are navigating. You're going to keep telling this story, but like, I'm thinking about any woman with a new cancer diagnosis and what you do in your business, like to help people. Anyway, keep going.
Um, so it took an ER nurse. As we all know, the ER nurses are the experts when it comes to tapping a vein. Putting an IV for them is chewing gum. It is very easy. 45 minutes later, and she still hadn't tapped my vein. And I was like, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. I prayed. I said, Goddess, I cannot. She has one more shot at my vein. And if she does not, I'm getting up and walking out of here. And, you know, a lot of people want to talk about faith and how having faith in a time like this is impossible. The very next needle she put in, she actually stuck it, and I was able to stay and receive my chemotherapy. And it's kind of hard to believe that, but this literally happened. So there was that one day that I came very close to just giving up because it was so brutal. That day, the amount of pain and frustration of that morning was more than the day that I lost my dad. Like they're real close, but that they're top two horrible days of my life right there.
And did you have somebody with you supporting you or somebody to fall back on, or were you alone in your journey?
I had the most amazing community behind me.
No, that's
My
important.
Yes, yes, you need a village, especially when you're going through a trauma time. Um, My mom and dad would come up from North Carolina, and they would, for each time I went inpatient. So for me, the inpatient, it was 4 days straight of chemo, and then I would have the rest of the month to relax. And so it was 3 chemo treatments, a break, and then 5.5 weeks of radiation, and then a break, and then more chemo. But after round 2 of chemo, we took a little break, and then I had a power port put in because I needed
Mhm.
it. Um, Friends, some amazing friends. One of those amazing friends gave me Big Toe, and I got Big Toe on round 2 of chemo. That same afternoon, the day that I almost walked out, my friend came in and brought me this little guy. And this little guy is almost 17, and he has gone through all of the chemos except one, all of the radiations, all the surgeries, all of it. Because when you go into your appointments, your radiation appointments, you can't have anybody else in the room. So instead of holding on to the little pole ring, I had my little blue stuffed animal. And even as adults, we are allowed comfort items. And he's nice and small. He fits in a pocketbook. He fits in a
They let
bra.
him in the room.
Well,
I've
yes,
heard like studies and psychologists and counselors and all sorts of things. And as you know, I'm also an animal keeper, a stuffed animal keeper. I've heard all sorts of really cool studies that show that having them actually really helps and supports us, which is amazing. So I'm glad you have that.
anything that you can use as a comfort item, right? Whether it's a stuffed animal or a big bear or a green shaggy carpet dinosaur, whatever. I had one of those.
Yeah. And some people have those like balloon squishies, but something with
Yeah,
eyes that looks cute, it does something to our brains. And Big Toe is cute.
Big Toe is adorable.
Yeah.
Um, Big Toe turned into a movement. Big Toe went with me everywhere I went. He would flirt with waiters. My sister's like, "Can you put the damn doll away? We're having dinner." And I'm, "No." I couldn't leave the house without him afterwards. And for about 5 years, he went everywhere. If I left the house, he was in my stuff. He was in my pocketbook. We've reached a point where I don't have to do that anymore. However, he does go with me on my annual pap smears and my mammographies, and things like that. He's a real trooper. So I ended up with a little army because people just kept giving me these guys. And over the years, I've started releasing them back into the wild to other people when they're not having a good time.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah,
powerful. So
yeah.
having your army, having comfort, like these things to get through, like probably one of the most difficult journeys that a person can ever go through. You've been through and you know the things to do. And then there's the after effects. You've talked to me about this a little bit as well. Like there's your immediate radiation, chemo, and people supporting you. And then there's the years after. So everybody can think about this. Your cancer journey isn't just 3 months or 6 months or a year or 2 years.
It's the
It's
rest of your life.
everything. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can. There are things that happen to your body. Just be quiet. Puppy's gonna puppy. Um, that people don't realize that radiation affects your whole body. So we'll start with this. I lost my front teeth. I mean, bad genetics and some stuff, but also um the teeth came out. So that's that. And
Thank you
I
for
spent.
the courage and boldness to show everybody here. I don't know if you
It's
all know this who are
important.
watching and listening, but Tanya's like an open book to help you all with your journeys. So, yeah.
Okay. I like my smile much better with them in. I feel more confident with them in. And they're my teeth, right? I may have bought them. I didn't come with them packaged, but they're still my teeth. There are other things that can happen. Your doctor's probably not going to tell you that you might end up with some sort of sexual dysfunction. I have what what I politely call accidents, and they don't always happen in the house. Sometimes they happen outside of the house. And so now I in my bag there's a kit, a cleanup kit, because you just need to have that. And you don't have to have gone through a cancer journey to have something going on with your bowels. And there are a whole bunch of chronic illnesses that give you poopsidents. And one of the things that I have learned, and like, I'm not going to say this was an easy task at all, because it wasn't, but you cannot control the situation. You can only control how you respond to the situation. And even now, sometimes when I'm out and I poop myself in public, I will cry because it sucks. Um, but sometimes now I laugh. I remember there was one time I was at the grocery store and I literally made it into the bathroom and pooped myself 2 steps from the toilet. Like, I just, what could I do? I could only laugh at that, right? Like, your body is your body, and you just have to give yourself the grace to be human, right? Because if you're lucky, you'll get to a point where you shit your pants again, right? You'll get old enough that you'll need diapers again. We start in diapers, and
Right?
if you're lucky, you end in them. And it's if you're lucky, right? Because not everybody has the not everybody gets to live long enough to get to that side of it. And it is a get to,
I love that
which
you
is
frame it that way. Like it's an
it's
honor
part of
to
your
be able to
mindset.
get
Yeah.
there and to be able to live that and go through it. And super challenging. Like
Yes.
the stuff that you have to navigate, Tonya, and then you talk about it publicly. Like this is what makes you the guide that you are, especially for women's cancers, especially for women's cancers that affect the uterus, the ovary, the vagina, the cervix, like all the things that people don't want to talk about
Yeah.
that are so important. And the fact that you guide women along the journey. Was there a point that you reached that, or what was the point you reached that made you go, wait, I want to help other women with this?
When I realized that there were so many different people willing to help me, but I didn't know about it because I was never told, right? Like, I had the meeting with the social worker and she's like, "So what questions do you have?" And you don't know what you don't know, so you can't ask what you don't need, what you don't know about. So I didn't ask her any questions. That was the one visit I got, and I left there. I didn't know there are nonprofit organizations that people volunteer to drive you to and from your appointments. Let me tell you, you are worse than a drunk driver driving to a radiation appointment. After a couple of weeks of radiation, you should not be operating
Oh,
heavy. You shouldn't be doing anything at
yeah.
all. There are organizations that help your family visit you while you're in the hospital if they're from out of state, provide transportation and hotels and food. There there are, I mean, food stamps. I ended up on food stamps, and I don't feel any kind of way about that, because I anybody who needs it is entitled to it. And the reason I ended up there is because it took the workers' comp, not workers' comp, the disability 4 months to send me a check. My sister is an
Four
angel on
months
earth.
is, yeah, it's like,
Four
what are you
months.
going to do in between?
Well, my sister works overtime. She works 16-hour days, and for 4 months. And when I finally got that check, I just handed the entire thing to her, and she paid for
Wow.
everything. And
Yeah.
she was upset because she couldn't be at the hospital with me. And I was like,
Hmm.
"You're doing, you're providing the house and the food and the stability that I need to heal. You are the angel." And she was just upset because she couldn't be there in the spot that she thought that I needed her in, but she was doing the necessary thing that absolutely, I don't know where I'd be if she had not
Yeah,
done that, right? Like,
absolutely.
and that's what I mean by having the support network. We all have support networks like that. They look different. Everybody's village looks different, but when you're diagnosed, the helpers come out of the woodwork to do the helping.
Yeah.
And it is truly one of the most beautiful things is when humanity is shining like that. It's so humbling. People
Mhm.
people that you are acquaintances and didn't have like deep relationships with coming over and bringing you casseroles and stuff like, and
Yeah.
but then people that were rocks vanishing. Like it,
Well, it's an interesting time. Like certain people in your life would leave and certain people would get closer. Is that what happened?
yes. And it happens for everybody. And I didn't hold any ill will to anybody that departed because I don't know what their trauma was about my illness. And that's what it is, right? Like maybe they lost a parent or a close friend or whatever it is because as the statistic currently is, according to the American Cancer Society, 1 in every 2 people will have some kind of cancer before they die, and it's 1 in every 8 people will have breast cancer, some form of breast cancer. These
Yeah.
numbers are disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, when I was diagnosed, it was 1 in 3, and now it's 1 in 2. The number's not going in the correct direction, and
After
more
all the
young
research
people,
and things that people should know how to do, it's still on the rise.
because the standard of care is surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, and as how the allopathic system is right now, they're not allowed to incorporate any of the holistic stuff, which I think is absolutely egregious, right? Like Chinese medicine has been a foundation in China for centuries.
Yeah.
And like,
And studies show like alternative therapies and mindfulness-based stress reduction, all sorts of things can really actually help outcomes, but it's not applied. We could go down this path. I've been in holistic wellness for so many years. We could go
I,
really down this path. But
we,
this is why women who are diagnosed need somebody like you to help them navigate everything that's going to come up. And they're maybe not going to have as many angels as you had. And even if they have family and friends who are willing to support and help, they don't have somebody who's giving them the information, like been there, actually like holding their
walked
hand
it.
through it from a
Yeah.
standpoint of, I know what's coming. Here's the questions to ask, all of those pieces. So yeah,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
so much to walk through. It must be really overwhelming. Um, what was it like for you to get through that? Like you're on the other side, you did all those treatments, you were in the clear. What was the feeling like once you like she's laughing, everybody. If you're just listening to
I am
audio, big
laughing
smile.
because the medical system, once you're done with your treatment, they release you back into the wild with no support, zero support. Like your follow up is such and such, but there's no actual support.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends said to me, he goes, "Of course you're upset. Your feminine core tried to murder face you." Like, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." I feel betrayed by my body. I feel betrayed by my femininity. And then I had to, I got to spend the next 5 years sorting that and redefining what it is to be a woman in a society where you're a woman only if you have a uterus, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it's the society we live in, and there's a lot of damaging bullshit wrapped up in that because there's not a better word for it than that. And our uterus doesn't define us. Our hair doesn't define us. And let me tell you, being bald really is a challenging moment.
Mhm.
Um, because we tie a lot in our appearance based on societal expectations.
So not only are you facing your cancer journey, but you're facing all of this too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, the first time I was called sir kind of was a punch to the face. And it was an accident, right? Like it was not intentional, but I was bald as a cue ball, like a and it happened. Because they're so for me, while I was walking through my journey, in the beginning, if it was a wig, I wore it. Pink, purple, blue, clown colored, it didn't matter. I wanted to like even then, I wanted to showcase that people get sick and call attention to just how many people have cancer, and you walk past them every day and you don't even realize it because
Covered
wigs
up.
are that good, but I wore the Halloween wigs that were not that good on purpose. And
Oh, Tanya, that's so you. I love it.
I walked in
Total
for my
unicorn.
first, first round of radiation, and it was in the hospital, and I was dressed head to toe in Barbie pink, from from the Hello Kitty pocketbook to the I Dream of Jeannie Buffont wig to the pink flip flops with rhinestones, right? Like just walked in there, and the nurse behind the counter is like, "Oh, honey, let me get you back up to the fifth floor." She thought I escaped psych,
That's adorable. And you're like,
and
no, no.
and it was exactly what I needed because I burst into laughter, and I'm like, "I'm here for radiation," and she blushed, and I was like, "No, I'm not offended. I'm not offended. That is absolutely hilarious." And every day I'd go into radiation, I'd have a different color wig on. They started taking bets on what color the wig was going to be.
So you brought light to the whole place because their job must be really challenging as well.
Uh, the the people that help people navigate a cancer diagnosis, the nurses and they're they're a special breed. They
Yeah.
really are a special breed, and they're not all made the same. Some of them are absolutely phenomenal, and some are there for a paycheck, and you can tell who's who.
Yeah. You can tell where people's hearts are.
You
And
you really
the,
can.
it's like you're talking about them being phenomenal. And it's like, and now here you are having gone through all this stuff. Some people would be like, I want to get as far away from it as possible. And you're like, you've created a show that is serving these people. You have programs that are serving these people. It shows where your heart is. And I wonder if we can use part of this interview for you to talk about a couple of things. What if somebody's facing a diagnosis? Like what are the things that they should do? What are your tips to get people
What are my
through the
tips?
journey?
So, a couple of years ago, I had another cancer scare, and I am currently having a cancer scare. I have some mass in my breast, and I'm having a biopsy in 2 weeks. And you know, it's really stinky when you have to walk the talk. Um, and for me, mindset is such a huge part of that because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are correct. So it's Power Pantaloons because the entire time that I was going through my journey, every morning there was one item on the to do list every day, and that was to change my underwear. And I would visualize that I was putting on Wonder Woman's panties because Wonder Woman doesn't die. That was the physical representation of me actively deciding to live every day. And it's a choice. So you start with that. So that's where we start. Like when I have sessions with people, we start with, hey, do you want to live? Are you going to fight for your life? Because not everybody can be coached. Not everybody wants to live. That's just the facts. And then we talk about what you're putting in your mouth. Nutrition is super, super important. um it's senior to just about everything else, right? Like mindset here, and then nutrition is like right here. And then you want to have boundaries. You want to have your friends, family, and medical team all in alignment. So we talk about how to set up boundaries because there's always somebody that's got the little nagging little remarks, and they need to be escorted to the door and shown out
Yeah.
politely at first, but if they don't get it, then not so politely. You don't have time for that while you're navigating. Okay, you just don't. I don't know if you've heard about spoon theory, where you get a couple of spoons per day, and then you allocate it for each activity that you do.
That makes sense.
So when you're going through a cancer journey, you have way less spoons than normal. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
And when going to the bathroom costs 3 spoons and you've only got 4 spoons, so
Yeah, you're not going
you
to
don't
be
you
able
don't
to
have
spend
the
any
energy.
spoons on like helping other people.
You don't have the bandwidth to deal with negative Nancy.
Yeah.
And nor do you want negative Nancy in your space, because her negativity will affect you.
Yeah. So you help your clients to figure out their spoons and their boundaries and
Yes. And then we create their blueprint on their holistic, right? Because for me, my holistic blueprint was Reiki, aromatherapy, no herbalism because the oncologist said no. And I wanted to work with him. Uh, um, Flower essences, grounding, crystals, singing bowls, detoxifying baths, but not everybody's level of woo is different. And so we develop their blueprint on what they want to incorporate. And a lot of these things are inexpensive, or you're able to do it yourself. I learned about a beautiful practice called Do In, which is self massage. All right, that's free. You can do that yourself, right? Like, so there's a because I know expenses is a huge portion for a lot of people going through a
yeah.
cancer journey.
Right. And if
So
you could just give them a list of like, here are all the things that are like really free or low cost, and here are the things you don't need to spend money on, you could
yeah,
actually end up
yep,
saving people money.
yes, absolutely. I mean, breath work, breathing, meditation, because those things help with sleep, because sleep is super important.
Yeah.
Appetite, medical cannabis. I don't normally imbibe at all, but during my journey, absolutely, because the nausea was out of control and the appetite was severely suppressed.
Yeah.
So in that instance, it worked really well for me. It's not going to work for other people. And there are other things to use if you're not interested in that. Ginger and peppermint are two that come to mind immediately. So we build
Yeah.
a blueprint.
An individualized blueprint, because not every, like, there are things that are going to be similar, but not everybody's journey is the same, I imagine.
Yes. And it's intuitive because your body knows what you want. You lean in when you want a thing, and you kind of make faces and lean out when you don't. So it's very easy to tell if you're interested or your body is interested in that modality.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So you help people to navigate it, to walk through it. What are some things with the clients that you've worked with or people that you've helped that make you feel like you're doing the right thing? Like that you're like, oh, this is good.
You know, any time that I feel like I gave some information that made it so they didn't have to go through a hardship, and I'll give you an example on that. Chemotherapy is going to make you lose your hair. Everybody knows with common sense that you have hair on places other than your head. However, common sense goes right out the window the second you hear you have cancer. And so my friend gave me a mohawk, and I rocked a mohawk. And then the night before I went in for round 1 of chemo, we shaved the rest of my head. And that's all we shaved. So I went into the hospital for 4 days. And after you come home from the hospital for 4 days, what's the one thing you do? Get right into the shower. Well, so I got into the shower, and all of my pubic hair came off into my hand. And I lost my biscuits and I cried in the shower for 45 minutes over some dumb hair. And I knew I was going to lose the hair, right? But it didn't occur to me
Doesn't compute. Yeah.
that it would be other hair. You can lose your eyebrows, your eyelashes,
Yeah.
your armpit hair, your leg hair, or you might not. See, I lost all the good hair and got stuck with the beard and the mustache hairs. They stayed. It's stuff like that. How long do you
Just
think you stay
preparing.
irradiated after radiation, right? I think the answer is 5 years, and the reason I think the answer is 5 years is because after 5 years, mosquitoes found me attractive again.
So you just knew, you were like, how come these mosquitoes are not coming for me? Interesting.
It was really weird. For 5 years, I not one mosquito would come anywhere near me, and then one day I got a bite. I was like, it was magical.
I'm clean. I'm clean.
Weirdly,
Radiation. That's there's so many little things, little nuances,
yes.
unexpected things, things that people just simply don't talk about. That's what I love about the work that you're bringing to your clients. I think we should take a moment for shameless self-promotion. Like if somebody is going through a cancer journey or is ever going to go through one or has a family member, like how do they work with you? How do they connect with you?
Super easy. Linktree dot Power Pantaloons, our link dot tree. It's right there. It's easy to find me, and I do have a free 30-minute session where we decide if we're good to work together. And I, you know, I, I'll text you. I'll send you little book recommendations. Like, because I'll think about you whether you sign up with me or not. That's not how I work, right? And
Yeah, you're here to be of service no matter what.
yes,
Which is power.
yeah,
And to give somebody free 30 minutes is incredible. So those of you who are listening and watching in some time in the future, that may not be available anymore, but I'm sure that Tanya's link tree will
it's
still
always
be.
gonna be available.
Oh, I love it. That's cool. Okay, so it's Linktree. If you're just listening to the audio, it's Linktree and it's / Power Pantaloons. So you can look it up and find Tanya because that's incredible. And I'm sure the link will also be in show notes and all over
Yes,
the place. And it's easy to find Tanya and Power Pantaloons. I mean, it's the only podcast like it. It's the only podcast like it out there. If somebody's facing a cancer journey, like what do you want them to know for sure?
there are people that want to help you. That is for sure. There are people that want to help you, and it is okay to take the time to just be. It's okay to be mad at God, but it is not okay to stay in the negativity. Get yourself a game plan, whether it's with me or a different cancer coach. Like if you come to me and we're not a match, I will help you find a match, right? Because there are many, I'm finding them all over the place. It's beautiful. There are many people out there willing to help you. There are programs, that Facebook groups, there are support groups everywhere. There are resources all over the place. Just reach out. I'll point you in the right direction.
Hmm.
And you can listen to all of the podcasts where you can learn about all of the wonderful different modalities that are out there, some of which I learned as we were having the podcast, right? Like there's just so much beautiful,
Yeah.
energetic work. It's so much,
There's
it's
so
just
much out
all
there. Like
wonderful. Yeah,
this journey does not have to be navigated alone. Let me ask
correct.
you a few more questions, and they might be long answers, they might be short answers. What do you wish you had known before? Like, what's one thing you wish you had known?
Uh, what a PowerPoint was.
There you go.
Like really,
Yeah.
I could have saved myself a world of hurt if I had just asked one follow-up question. It's okay to ask questions, and I know that it's difficult to do that. So, medical binder. I do have a resource. Like I
Oh,
give
let's
masterclass
talk
with the
about the resource.
yes, medical binder. I'm giving a masterclass on the 11th about the medical binder, and at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll put that link in the notes as well. But I'm giving away 20 pages of a medical binder. And the one thing that I used religiously throughout that was this binder. Um, and you can write down questions that you have for your doctor so that when you get there, you remember what the question is. Because I promise you, the second you start chemo, you're not going to remember nothing.
And even walking into a doctor's office, your mind can go blank and it's like, what is
It
it? So this
does.
medical
You have
binder is
all the
powerful.
questions and you just forget to ask them.
Yeah,
So just write them down
cool.
and have that. And
So that masterclass is talking people through what a medical binder is, how to use it, why it's such an important resource. That's very cool.
yes, and what's beautiful about it is you take it to each appointment. So if the doctor has a question about an appointment you had with a different doctor, all you do is just open it up. What I would do is I would just hand it to the nurse at the beginning and they just photocopy the pages again. Like, and so it just it makes it easier. Then you have your complete list of your medication, you have your complete list of your allergies, you have the complete list of all the providers, because you have this oncologist, you have that oncologist, and then you have this other oncologist, and now you have 15 doctors and you don't remember anybody's name because you don't
It's
even
true.
remember what you had for breakfast. It is it is the one thing that I did right while I was going through that. I mean, I did a bunch of things right, but it's it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
It
fill in
helps
this
you
blank. Oh, go ahead.
it helps you advocate for yourself.
Yeah, that is so important. So everybody, wherever you're watching or listening to this, just tune into Tanya's link tree or the notes because whatever, I'm sure she'll be repeating that workshop because you might be watching this or listening at some point in the future. Got a couple
Yes.
more questions. I'm just thinking of a fill in the blank. No woman facing a cancer journey should ever have to.
A woman facing a cancer journey should ever have to walk the path by herself.
Powerful. Here's another one. We'll flip it. Every woman facing a cancer journey should have.
A medical binder and a best friend. And the stuffy.
Agreed. The trio of good medical binder, best friend, and a stuffy. And you can be their cancer best friend, which is kind of you're
Sure
a special
can.
kind of angel, Tanya. Like your heart
Thank you.
for this work is really, really incredible. Um, what what's something that you personally wish you had done differently in the journey?
We're going to talk about that PowerPoint.
That's it. Like that's you see,
I,
like one thing can be such a big deal. And it's like if they just had you in the beginning to ask questions to, they could save themselves this like pain.
one question really can save you a world of hurt if you know what that question is.
Yeah.
And speaking with somebody who's navigated the journey and already been there and did or didn't ask those questions can help you ask the right questions at the right time.
Yeah. Hmm. Anything else that our audience should know or that I should ask you right now that hasn't been tapped in this
I
beautiful
I think
interview?
we managed to talk about everything.
We did.
I think
Your
we did.
journey, like the way that you share it so candidly. You're also on TikTok sharing your journey and like on all sorts of socials. Just the way that you share so candidly, I think would give hope to a woman walking through this kind of journey. So
There is
appreciate the
one
work
other
you
thing
do.
I do want to say.
Mhm.
Get your testing done. Do your breast exams. Make your appointments for your mammographies, for your pap smears, and your colonoscopies. Early detection saves lives.
I think that's the most powerful thing that we could end this off with.
Yeah,
It's empowering women to find it early so that they don't have to go through the bigger journeys.
yes.
Yeah,
My
thank you for
husband and I do his and her colonoscopies. I recommend.
that's the best way instead of date night or instead of a weekend away. That's
There's
awesome.
no reason you can't have health related dates.
Absolutely. You're going to get really comfortable with each other. And you need to when you go through any kind of health journey, anybody who's navigated anything. health-wise with their partner knows you're gonna get real comfortable with each other really fast.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming and interviewing me for my own podcast.
It's
You
been
asked
a deep,
beautiful questions.
yeah, thank you. And to everybody listening and watching, this woman is a stand for all of you. Like, the work that she does is absolutely incredible. So the best thing that you could all do, I'm just going to plug, is share this podcast, like it, rate it, review it, press the share button, tag a friend so that you can get this beautiful work out in the world. Because Tonya is a selfless angel who's giving to you all the time. So that's why this episode is so special. So thanks,
Yeah.
Tonya, and thanks everyone.
Go get your appointments.